In this section, we are going to actually talk about the next UML diagram, which is object oriented design diagram, that is sequence diagram. So, in sequence diagrams, if you could see, the main thing which you are going to do is that the major terminologies that we will see in the sequence diagram, and the basic concepts of it and the notations that we need to use in it. So, sequence diagram is basically a UML diagram that actually shows the interactions between the objects arranged in a time sequence manner. So, the main thing which you have to keep in mind here is a time sequence manner. So, this is something which actually shows and works based on the time. So, from one time to another time, what all are the sequence of actions? So, that could be actually seen by the sequence diagram. So, it is used in analysis to show the interactions between the actor, the system, etc. And how it is actually showing the interactions, it is actually by using the message signatures. So, what do you mean by a message signature? So, that means that what is a function that is actually passed, what is a message that is actually passed, okay, from one set of actor to the system itself. So, it is kind of a collaboration between the objects and the messages itself. So, what is the basic notation? So, the basic notations could be seen in the next slides. So, the first one, this is exactly like what we have actually seen in the state chart diagram. So, this is an entity object. So, entity object, it is nothing but like a class, okay, an object that with which we persistently store the data. So, this could be a database object, or and I mean like this could be an object which is usually from a domain model, an object which continues to live even after the program execution. And then comes the interface objects, as you all know that the interface which mainly is used during the runtime, and say it could be some dialog boxes, some alert boxes, some web forms, some menus, windows, etc., which comes in like a application program interface which used by other systems or to interface between our system. Then comes the control object. So, control object actually contains the application logic itself. The main logic is actually here. That does not belong to an entity object. So, that means that, so this actually controls where it has to go. Say if you are in the ATM machine and you are entering the pin, and if the pin is wrong, then the alert has to come like invalid pin. So, if it is correct, it should go, it should check in the to the database server and get back to us. So, it actually controls, that is kind of the main control logic, which the logic which helps you to proceed in your business. So, the business rules itself, right. So, an object that coordinates between the communication, so coordinates the communication between the objects and the entity objects itself, interface objects and the entity objects. So, those kind of objects are basically called as a control object, which includes the major logic. So, this is kind of a simple notation for the sequence diagram. So, if you could see that this is from the enterprise architect. So, these are all the various operators that we could actually see in the enterprise architect for the sequence diagram, and here this is the actor, and you have the waiter and the head of kitchen and chef. So, when you look at it, this is an actor. So, this waiter here, this head of kitchen, chef 4, they are all the various objects, and this dotted lines which goes down, they are called as the lifelines, and the things which are actually written on the arrows, such as the guards which we have seen in the previous diagrams, they are nothing but the messages which is actually passed between one object to another object. And this is actually kind of a return value. So, there will be a message, it is a signature means it is a function declaration in fact. So, that means that submit order, and what has to be passed as the parameter, an order has to be passed as the parameter, okay, and you are cooking the order, and cooking and assembling everything is done. Finally, you are returning the meal, right, and the meal is actually given back. So, these are all the return values in fact, okay. So, the operation that the objects needs to fulfill, they are called as a program code itself, okay, they are the program code. So, when you look at this whole structure, this is kind of a simple structure for the sequence diagram. So, this is another example for the sequence diagram, where we could see that the creation of a new object. So, you have a clerk, and the clerk is actually asking for the new customer, is creating a new customer. So, it goes to the main menu of your page and it displays the customer form. Okay. So, this is an interface object, and now the customer also adds all those necessary information like name, address, phone, etc., and it is saving customer, right. So, once all the information is given, then create the customer of address, name and font, and that is actually gone through a create new customer handler. This handler is nothing but like a controller, which actually is has the main control logic itself. So, once all the information is there, then it has to create the new account, right. So, it goes to the account customer. So, when you look at here, so why we are actually doing it not here up and down, because it comes in the picture only at this moment. So, everything is up, we will have a total confusion. So, in order to reduce the confusion, we are just introducing this AC customer only at this particular level. So, it is actually the account customer, and it get the customers, and it is returning the customer ID, name, address, font, etc., and it is finally returned to the customer form. So, this is a simple example where we actually create a new object. So, now this is actually the destruction of an object. So, here we have our clerk, etc., this is all the same thing. So, we are getting the customer information, and we are passing all this information back. Then finally, what we are going to do is that delete. Okay. So, delete. So, this deletion is nothing but if you have created an object, it is always better to delete an object also. So, that is what exactly what they are actually giving us. Now comes the looping. So, for the looping, it is all the other, say if you could see that there is a clerk, and there is a main menu, there is an order form, then there is a what is that, cancel order form, etc., different type of order forms, and this is a loop. So, what is this loop all about? So, loop is nothing but, say if you want to repeat something for in an iterative manner. So, for each order item, you need to cancel the item, then you need to check the stock in it, update the stock in it, then you have to save the ordering itself. So, this is kind of a loop statement which we will have in the in the looping, okay, in the sequence diagram. Now, this is basically nothing but a simple example of the branching. So, say you have the bank customer, and within 10 within when you insert the card into the ATM, what happens is that it will ask for the PIN, right. It asks for the PIN from the bank customer, and if it is an invalid card, it has to display that error message or something like has to be given, right. So, here also if you could see that you are using a message, and here this is the return message. In the return message, you will get the the required return values. So, here it is kind of an alternative. So, alternative means it is like if the PIN is valid, you will go through this way. If the PIN is invalid, you will go through this way. In the previous one, it is more like an iterative one. So, here we will have to actually use a particular looping constructor. Now, coming back to the steps in creating the sequence diagrams itself. So, we need to copy the given use case diagram and paste it to the left margin, and then we can add the actors, and then boundary and additive objects, etc., if required, and as the use case controller object through